Hey there, students. I wanted to also do an ancient Greek myth today, and this is from W.H.D. Rouse's Gods, Heroes, and Men of Ancient Greece Mythology's Great Tales of Valor and Romance. I wanted to do one about Perseus today, uh, and this is from Danae and the Brazen Tower, The Baby is Saved, chapter 36. Perseus and the Gorgon Medusa. This is a classic tale. This story has been redone throughout different mediums: literature, film, television, comic books. Everyone knows the story of Perseus and the Medusa. And so, being that it is such a classic, I really wanted to share it with you in one of its more original forms. So, without further ado, here we go. Zeus heard the mother's prayer. The chest was washed up on the shore of a little island named Seriphos. A man on the island came along and saw the chest, which was richly carved, and he thought it a great find. But when he prized off the lid, what was his surprise to see Danae and the baby inside. He was a kind man, and took them in, and they lived in his house while the boy grew up. The boy's name was Perseus, and he grew up to be strong and brave and handsome, and won prizes in the athletic games of the island. So he was noticed by the king, Polydectes, and before long the king caught sight of his mother Danae, and determined to make her his wife. But Danae would not hear of it. She, the wife of the immortal Zeus, to give herself to the petty chief of a small island. The king persecuted her, but he was afraid of Perseus, and soon he saw that Perseus must be got out of the way. Accordingly, he pretended to flatter him on his success in the games. "You are a fine boy," he said. "You can beat everyone in this island at running and at boxing and wrestling. In fact, you are wasted in a small place like this. You ought to try some great task and make a name in the world like the real heroes." You see, he did not know that Perseus was a real hero, as being a son of Zeus. Danae kept the secret to herself. "What do you mean, sir?" asked Perseus. "Just tell me something worth trying for." "I will," said the king. "Go and bring me Medusa's head." Perseus asked, "Who is Medusa?" The king said, "There are 3 awful sisters, the 3 Gorgons, named the Strong, the Leaper, and the Queen. That is Medusa. Strong and Leaper are ugly things, but the Gorgon Medusa is the most beautiful creature in the world. I want her head, never mind why." "Where can they be found?" asked Perseus. The king said, "Far away in the west, in the land of darkness. You must find your own way, for I do not know any more about it." This fired the ambition of Perseus, and he determined to fetch Medusa's head. The gods knew all this, of course, and as Perseus was thinking what to do, suddenly Athena appeared to him and said, "Perseus, do you know me?" "Indeed I do," said Perseus. "You are the great goddess Athena." "Well," said Athena, "we gods are going to help you. First of all, look at this." And she showed him the image of a head. The face was very beautiful, but cruel and cold and unhappy, and instead of hair, it had curling ringlets of snakes all around. "This is the Gorgon Medusa," she said. "But if you look at the real face, you will be turned into stone." "Then how can I get the head?" said Perseus. "Take this shield," and she gave him a shield, smooth and shining like a mirror. "And when you come to Medusa, keep your back to her, and see her image in the shield, so as to strike back over your shoulder. Then cut off her head and put it in this bag." And she gave him a large bag of leather. "Be careful to leave her sisters alone, for they are immortal. Medusa alone is mortal, and she can be killed." "But how shall I find the way?" he asked. "Wait a minute," said Athena. And then, all of a sudden, there were Hermes and Hades, who appeared out of nothing as the gods can do. But Hermes said, "See here, I lend you my winged shoes. Put them on your feet, and you will fly through the air like a bird. And here is a sharp sickle to cut off Medusa's head." Then Hades said, "And you, I lend you my cap of darkness. When you have it on, you will be invisible, and no one will see you." "And now," said Athena, "you must fly away to the west until you come to the 3 old hags, who alone know the way to the Gorgons. They have only one eye between them and one tooth, which they lend out as they about as they want them. Their names are Buzzer and Terror and the Fury, and they keep watch over their sisters, the Gorgons. They live in the west, beyond the sun and moon, and you will have to persuade them to tell you the way." This did not sound hopeful, but there was no more to be done, as the 3 gods had all disappeared. So Perseus slung the shield and the sickle about his shoulders and hung the bag over his back, and put on the cap of darkness and fastened the winged shoes to his feet. Then he rose into the air. On and on he flew, over land and sea, over mountain and forest, beyond the sun and the moon into the dark regions of the west. No doubt the winged shoes guided him, for he came straight to the place where the 3 old hags had their dwelling. Terror said, "I hear a noise in the air. What is it?" Fury said, "Give me the tooth and let me bite it." So the tooth was passed to Fury, but she could see nothing, because the eye was in the socket of Buzzer. Terror said, "Sister, what can you see?" Buzzer said, "I can see nothing of all, but I hear a shivering in the air." For the cap of darkness made Perseus invisible. "Pass me the eye," said Fury. "You are as blind as a bat." She put the eye into her own socket, but saw nothing. Then Terror said, "Pass it here, will you?" But as Fury took out the eye and held it towards her sister, Perseus neatly swooped in between them and caught it. "Now then," said Fury, "can you see anything?" For she thought Terror had taken it, and, of course, the eye could see nothing as it passed between them, with no socket to sit in. "Give me the eye," said Terror. "I have given it," said Fury, "and I felt you take it." "I did not," said Terror. "Here," said Fury, "take the tooth and give her a nip." But as she held out the tooth, Perseus swooped down quickly and caught it. Then there was a frightful quarrel as each old hag thought the others were playing a trick on her. In the midst of it, Perseus called out, "Fear nothing, mighty beings. The eye and the tooth are safe. I hold them in my hand." There was a sudden silence. Then they all cried out at once, "Who is that?" He replied, I am Perseus, and I come to ask you the way to the place where the Gorgons are." "We will not tell you," they all cried out. "Then I will not give you back the eye and the tooth. Goodbye." And he made as if to go. Wait, they cried. They did their best to persuade Perseus to give back the eye and the tooth, but he was firm, and in the end they had to tell him the way to go. Then he flew off, saying, "When I come back, you shall have your eye and your tooth, safe and sound." Thus the 3 old hags could not defend their sisters, the Gorgons, and Perseus came to the place where they were. He found the Gorgons asleep. 2 of them had golden wings and bronze claws and enormous teeth, and they would have made short work of Perseus if they had caught him, but he was careful to be quiet, and approaching Medusa backwards, he looked at her image in the bright shield and struck a blow behind him and killed her. Then he cut off the head and put it into his bag. Drops of blood fell from the neck, and from them sprang up Pegasus, the winged horse. He flew away to the stables of Zeus. The 2 sisters awoke, and tried to catch Perseus in their claws, but he was too quiet for them. He flew back to the 3 old hags and gave them the eye in turn, and let them have a look at him when he took off his cap. He gave back the tooth too, but he took care to give it just as he was about to fly away, and he gave it to the one who had not the eye at that moment. All right, so that concludes the story of Perseus and the Gorgon Medusa. However, on reading it, especially in this translation, I think it should have been called Perseus and the 3 Old Hags, because that is where most of the tension in the story came from. Either way, it's a classic, and it is really just an enjoyable tale. The entire saga of Perseus is a really fun one, so hopefully we can get to some more stories involving him, and there are many more in here. But anyways, I hope you stay happy, stay healthy, and stay in the pursuit of knowledge. Bye-bye, students.